Welcome back. You're watching News X. My name is Vineet Malhotra, and tonight we unpack a diplomatic moment that has sparked a global buzz. An impatient Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, an unexpected room, and two of the world's most powerful leaders engrossed in a critical closed-door meeting. This is not just another video clip doing the rounds on social media. It is a moment that reveals the mood, the pressure, and the shifting power equations at the heart of Eurasian geopolitics. At a high-level international forum in Turkmenistan celebrating 30 years of the country's permanent neutrality, leaders from across the region gathered for dialogue, diplomacy and strategic signaling. Among them, Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif, whose schedule included a bilateral meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin. Well, the meeting was important for Pakistan. With its economy in deep distress, Islamabad has been keen on strengthening ties with Moscow, both for energy deals and diplomatic leverage. But what unfolded next was something no protocol official in Pakistan would have wanted circulating online. According to reports, now a viral video shared by RT India, Sharif arrived at the meeting venue in Russia's Black Sea resort of Sochi with expectations of a one-on-one discussion with President Putin. He was accompanied by Pakistan's Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar, but for over 40 minutes, Sharif waited. Cameras captured him standing by the door, adjusting his coat, glancing around nervously, clearly expecting the Russian president to walk out any moment. Except Putin did not. He was inside a closed-door meeting with Turkish President Recep Erdogan. And after waiting nearly 3/4 of an hour and with official aides reportedly unable to secure a slot in Putin's schedule, Sharif decided to walk right in. The clip shows the Pakistani Prime Minister stepping into the room with an awkward mix of urgency and uncertainty. This is obviously an unorthodox move. Sharif walked in, hoping at least for a quick acknowledgement or a short one-on-one. And according to those present, the room was deep in conversation. Putin and Erdogan engaged in a highly sensitive geopolitical discussion. Sharif reportedly stayed inside for about 10 minutes. He walked out and the moment instantly became diplomatic chatter across the region. For a leader already under domestic scrutiny, the optics were not ideal. Pakistan's Prime Minister waiting endlessly, then entering a room uninvited to disrupt a very important meeting and exiting in a hurry and almost embarrassed. Islamabad has not officially commented, but the visuals speak for themselves. In fact, a journalist from Russian newspaper Kommersant captured a wink by Putin after being interrupted by Shehbaz Sharif while Sharif waited outside. A far bigger conversation was unfolding inside. The incident has now gone viral, of course, but it is more than a memeable moment. It reveals the hierarchy of global power, the tension around the Russia-Ukraine conflict, and where Pakistan currently stands in the diplomatic pecking order. A 40-minute wait, an unexpected walk-in, and a 10-minute awkward pause, all against the backdrop of one of the world's most consequential geopolitical conversations. We'll talk about this with some people who may be able to make head or tail of what happened over here. Joining us on the show is Major General Sudhakar Ji, Senior Geopolitical and Strategic Defense Expert. Major General Dr. Rajan Kochar, Senior Defense Expert, with us on the show as well. Mr. Amjad Ayub Mirza, POK activist. He's joining us from the United Kingdom. And last but not the least, Pathikrit Pine, Foreign Affairs Expert, also with us on the program. General Rajan Kochar, I'll begin by asking you, in my, 2 decades or more than 2 decades of journalism, I have never seen something like this happening. The leader of a nation, even if it's Pakistan, barging into a closed-door meeting just because he had to wait for 40 minutes is not the behavior of a leader. It perhaps could be the behavior of a jilted lover or a groom, waiting to go to the mandap and the bride not showing up. What's happened here today is in fact very evidential of what Pakistan is and where it stands. Nobody takes this country seriously, and now the reason is clear why. How do you unfold what's transpired over here? And look at Shehbaz Sharif, look at that video. He's biting his nails, he's obviously embarrassed in front of his own staff as well that Vladimir Putin decided to give him a snub.
Thank you, Vineet. I think a very interesting simile you have just mentioned, and it sums up the entire thing very nicely. See, uh, there is a diplomatic protocol. You are a head of a state. You have uh, fixed up a meeting with another head of a state, and there are times when timings will get extended. So I think those diplomatic staff which is there with you, uh, possibly the advice is always given, so you can wait for some time, and a president is in a meeting with someone else. So actually, barging in is something which is possibly is a part of the Pakistan culture, but not a part of uh, a diplomatic culture. So I think this is one of those black spots in Pakistan history or in world geopolitics. I would say that because they are, I've not heard of any such instance which is happening with the head of state. A second important aspect is that the importance President Putin gives to Pakistan or to the Pakistan head of state is very, very evident from the incident. Because if you go back in the Pakistan-Russia relations, though they have a strategic partnership in place and trade and energy, and Pakistan is also, I am incidentally, buying oil from Russia, which I think America is actually overlooking that aspect of it because it's not a huge amount of oil which Pakistan buys, but they do have certain joint exercises also. Drasba was a counter-terrorism exercise which also took place around the Arabian monsoon, was another exercise which took place. So there are relations between Russia and Pakistan today. But look at the this thing. I mean, the response of President Putin. He just gave him 10 minutes, and I think it's an insult to Shehbaz Sharif because he thinks that if he has the backing of the United States, if he has the backing of Trump, he can do whatever he feels like. I think he has been put in his place, and Pakistan has been put in his place by Russia because I don't remember Putin has ever actually visited Pakistan. So it is a kind of an indication which you are actually getting that what the kind of pedestal Putin puts Pakistan in, and these Pakistanis or these Pakistani leaders have a very, very false impression about themselves.
Okay, all right. I get your drift. So I also want to include Pathakrit Pine into this conversation. Pathakrit, how do you look at this mortifying experience for the Pakistani leader? Do you think that he's been insulted and mortified and humiliated enough in the past, and today was the day when it got to the brim? He could not take it any longer and he had to barge into this room. How do you see this?
No, Vinay, I think he's pretty much used to it and he doesn't mind it anymore. I'm sure tomorrow he's waiting for the next one. So let me put it this way. Last week, RT India was launched and I was with General Kochar in that launching where President Putin himself was present. Now, if RT is leaking all these inputs, that means Russia wants Sharif to be embarrassed. Please understand this. The footage is with the Russian media, and the Russian media wants this to be leaked out deliberately with the Prime Minister of Pakistan sitting in one room, nobody be there to attend him. Then he's trying to barge into that meeting. I'm sure he got a dressing down inside also, which may not be shown. But it means that the Russians actually wanted to show him the place. See, there are far more important things that were perhaps being discussed. There's a Black Sea issue going on with the attack on the Russian ships, possibly by Ukraine. And Turkey is very, very angry with that. So Turkey has given an ultimatum to Ukraine. Next time it happens, Turkey will enter the war. So there are critical issues now. In the middle of that, if somebody comes with a begging wall, then it's a problem. I mean, you can't have donors and beggars in the same room doing a critical meeting. But if you ask me, and I think it's pretty clear to both the leaders that they have to actually talk, however good or bad it might be, but they would still prefer to talk to Asim Munir because that's where the real power center is. Shehbaz Sharif is not somebody Putin would talk to. And I think, he is desperate. I think he got a briefing from somebody, maybe even from Islamabad or Washington, that you must meet and have some kind of a bridge. But I think Putin is smart enough to know what is the pegging order of the hierarchy and who is important. Russia as a country is going through a lot of crisis. And even if the Pakistanis say that we want to buy more oil or say some weapon systems, even then I think the Russians will not be interested. First of all, there are challenges. And secondly, if the Pakistanis want to buy, the Pakistanis would also ask the Russians to finance it. That's the problem. And I think that's why the time was not given. So, but I have not seen anybody to do something like this, especially if you are a head of state. If you find that you are not being given the right time, right kind of time, and if you're busy, you will just move on. You will just not wait. But to barge into a critical meeting, I think that kind of desperation, I don't think I have either seen anybody doing something like that. That is something itself is an embarrassing thing to do, considering that those two important leaders are meeting. That itself shows a lack of decency. But I think they're used to it. Especially, I don't want to demean anybody, but I think if you ask Shehbaz
But you don't have
Sharif,
to. You don't have to demean them because they've done a pretty good job of doing it themselves. General Sudhakarji, how do you look at this? Pakistan, of course, getting a huge tranche of loan from the IMF just a couple of days ago, around $7 billion with 18 new conditions which Pakistan has to in fact furnish in the next 6 weeks. Now you have this happening. Is this basically a glimpse into the translucent world of geopolitics from the angle of countries like Russia and Turkey, who basically considered Pakistan a sidekick of someone or the other?
Vinit, good evening. Thank you for getting me for your show. You said it, in fact, without meaning to contradict any of my very distinguished and esteemed co-panelists. Allow me to give my perspective. We need to call it out. You see, if you don't call it out now, where and when else are you going to do it? Here is a country, and also let me tell you that in matters of diplomacy, this is nothing new. Not the barging into the office of a president of a country, but getting delayed. Let me quote an example. Way back in 71, Indira Gandhi had gone for a visit. She wanted to interact with Nixon, and the scheduled meeting got delayed by 45 minutes. She had to wait. But look at the way how it was given back. And the following day, Nixon was to come for a return visit, and it was happening somewhere in Washington. And Mrs. Gandhi, whether deliberately or inadvertently, the interaction got delayed by 45 minutes. There are ways and means to convey the message, not the way you barge in, because some decorum has to be maintained and sustained in matters of diplomacy in the world order. Otherwise, the ruffians like Pakistan will have a field day wherever they go. As it is, the Prime Minister Sharif does not have his say and his hold in Pakistan. He is treated as a second-class citizen, not as a Prime Minister. Munir has taken over everything. He is quite desperate, and therefore, in his desperation, he cannot have a new rules-based international order, the new rule of law. The new normal cannot be accepted. If it is accepted by the diplomatic world, then well, I have nothing to say. I think the world order has to call it out. You have made a beginning. I tend to agree with your articulation and the preamble which you have given. All of us, the panelists sitting here today, must call it out loud and clearly that this is not acceptable. You please mind your language, mind your etiquette, mind the mannerism in diplomacy. You cannot walk into a president's office. Whether Putin has called it out or not, that's immaterial. But this needs to be called out. I compliments to NewsX for having selected the theme and highlighted the issue. And back to you, Vineet.
All right, Mr. Mirza, your thoughts on the treatment which has been meted out to Shehbaz Sharif. And of course, in India, we're not surprised because he gets, perhaps more ill-treated at home by Asim Munir and the establishment than he does outside. Perhaps, this is a source of joy for Shehbaz Sharif whenever he goes out, because these are the only perks that he gets to enjoy. Otherwise, all the decisions are in the army's hands.
Well, thank you very much for having me. You see, Shehbaz Sharif would never dare enter Asim Munir's office the way he did in Russia by barging into a private meeting which Putin was holding with the Turkish president. He would wait for 48 hours outside the office, wagging his tail, but never barge into Asim Munir's office. Now, Shehbaz Sharif's decision to gate crash President Vladimir Putin's meeting is an act that deserves unequivocal condemnation. You see, such behavior not only violates the established diplomatic norms, but it also embarrasses the people of Pakistan, who he is representing as a Prime Minister. Whether he has come through rigging or whatever, but he holds that office. International meetings between head of states are governed by protocol, mutual respect, and there are pre-arranged agreements that this meeting will be held in such and such time. So if it is delayed, you wait. But this impulsive move, I think, has further damaged Pakistan's international credibility. And also these actions weaken Pakistan's negotiating position, because you are putting strain on relations with key global powers. So I think that this act is an act of desperation, and as very rightly our panelist Pathikrit, I think, said it, or Major General Rajan said it, that he must have been instructed by GHQ or Islamabad that jo marzi ho jaye, tumne mulaqat zarur karni hai, you have to see him. So there was, he decided to gate crash, and it's not a diplomatic misunderstanding ke wo pata nahi shayad wo bhool gaye mujhe bula ke. It's a national embarrassment for Pakistan, but Pakistan itna dheet hai, it's so, it doesn't mind being embarrassed globally. They are used to it, and it's a very sad situation. So I think that once he's back, this will be used by the opposition as a national humiliation, and there will be speeches in the National Assembly as well. And I mean, it's a very sad day in international diplomacy, that international diplomacy has come to this, that there are leaders, world leaders, so-called leaders, who are setting a very bad precedent. Thank you.
All right, Pathikrit, what does this also, tell you about the situation back home in Pakistan for Mr. Shehbaz Sharif? The media, the population, what do they make of this humiliation? And obviously, nobody's going to say anything about this, let alone the army taking note.
No, I just want to keep aside any animosity for the time being, that even for a Pakistani citizen, this is something very embarrassing. So they will not be happy with it. But Shehbaz Sharif, as I said, must have been under severe restrictions. I would not be surprised. if he had been reprimanded on the call, that you make your effort to go and meet. So, and fact is that within Pakistan, look, there are so many crises going on, multiple ones at the same time. I don't think anybody will take note beyond the point. Yes, the opposition will try to corner him, but where is the opposition? There is no opposition. And they know that, look, I mean, he is like more of a caretaker who is given an assignment. I think Mr. Shehbaz Sharif went there as on an assignment given to him. And the assignment was to ensure that because President Putin had been in India and some very critical discussions have taken place, so you must go and meet him. And I don't think beyond the point he even minds if there are discussions and criticism, because if you have to survive in politics in Pakistan, if you look at what's happening with Imran Khan right now, you have to go through these daily doses of ordeals where sometimes you are terribly at the receiving end and you just get along with it. I don't think if they had the kind of self-respect which we are talking about, they would have reached this situation where they are as political entities. You have completely handed over officially the entire power structure in the hand of Asim Munir. And knowing the condition of Imran Khan, I don't think he would say anything more in terms of protesting that next time I will not barge in. Because if he's asked to do that, he will do it. He'll have to do it next time as well. So it is, I don't think that he was,
Okay, fair enough. We've run out of time, but appreciate all the commentary as well as the feedback given here by all our panelists. We'll take a short break on that note. Be right back.